Welcome to Bookclub no Kiseki. I'm Sam Allman,
I'm David Bernard Houck.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
and the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be covering today is the first chapter. Yes, it is the first chapter. I did update my notes. The first chapter of Trails to Azure, entitled "Bright Skies Gathering Storms." But before we get started, Kome va?
Shit. I'm getting laid off.
Fuck.
I hate it. I don't like it. And at this point, I think I need to learn a trade or something.
Yeah.
Because just floating around from one soft skills job to another isn't working for me.
Yeah. That sucks.
And I hate computers. And I hate email. I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise anybody to go into retail, but there's always work in it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. There's several sets of jobs that are I need to avoid dying level of jobs, and retail and food service are the last and second to last on that list.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's as bad as food service, but I guess it really depends on where you're at either way. Like if I'm working, I'm gonna go down a tangent. Don't listen to the words coming out of my mouth.
Never do.
Good.
But yeah, I really hate that for you, Bernard. And I hope that
Yeah, I'm really sorry, man.
things work out. At least you heard like rumblings, and then they said this is happening, and it has a period of happening, and not when Google called me on my day off and was like, "Hey, we closed down the building today, so your key card doesn't work, so you can't come back. We put your stuff in a box so you can come pick it up from this hotel where your managers were staying."
That's weird.
Yeah, I hated that a lot. They did at least give me the option to be like, "Hey, but you could move to Colorado." And no, it was Detroit, I think. Move to Detroit.
Oh, Detroit's in Colorado.
Yeah. Just move to... My brain was thinking Boulder for some reason, but it was definitely Detroit. Like, yeah, you can move to Detroit where we have an office. And I'm like, yeah, let me just move up my family across the country and move from Texas to the Midwest. It's definitely something that I'm going to be doing within a calendar year. And then I did it within a calendar year.
But I've spent some time in parts of Detroit. Madison's a little better than that.
It's a lot better than that. I'm not upset, but
I just don't want to dunk on anybody who's listening from Detroit. But like, guys, I'm sorry. Only place I hated worse was Indiana.
yeah.
Madison sounds pretty good, but does it have a distinctive, incorrect way of making pizza?
No, but it has a distinct, incorrect way of making every other food.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you want to have some of the weirdest sushi you've ever had in your life, Madison, Wisconsin. There's turkey in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of just bad stuff. And so I make salsa, and I give it out to my friends every time I make it because my recipe makes a shitload. And so the last time I made salsa, I gave it out to people at my birthday party, and everybody that took it home were like, "Wow, this is great." And someone who ate my salsa was like, "Hey, I want to show you my favorite salsa that I get here in Wisconsin." And he showed it to me this last weekend, and it's the Bucky Badger brand, and it is salsa adjacent. It's under paste picante sauce is the literal exact middle of salsas. If it's worse than paste, it's bad. If it's better than paste, it's good. And it was definitely worse than pace. It was like, if pace is a 5, it was like a 4.7. It was not the zero that I had that had green tea in it. I think I've told that story on the podcast of the first one I tried here in Madison had green tea extract. And then sugar was listed higher than jalapeno in the ingredients list, which are sorted by percentage. So
isn't the Bucky Badger salsa like sweet?
yeah, it's kind of sweet. And it was bad and I hated it. But I just was like, yeah, man, cool. Like I didn't want to yuck somebody's yum since it's his favorite, but it was not mine. But what about you, Matt? You don't have anything exciting going on in your life that you've managed to not talk about for an entire couple of months.
Yeah. So, hey, listen. If I sound tired or have sound even more tired than normal, it is because, as of halfway through, no, not last week. That was what I was going to say before. Approximately amount of time, less than 2 weeks, but more than 1 week ago, my wife and I hit our second trimester. I'm going to be a papa in October.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
So excited for you.
I have been impaled. I have been on fire, and this is still the single scariest experience of my life.
Yeah, we've had discussions in the Discord about all of the ways that you've almost died, and I think this one will end up taking the cake.
When
mean,
you were
if this...
when you said you've been impaled and you've been on fire, after that I was like, is there something about the birds and the bees I don't know yet? Is it more complicated than I thought?
Only if you're trying to summon a child instead of make one. No, yeah, life is gonna get really hectic in the best way possible, and if this is what kills me, I'm fine with that.
Hell yeah. I'm stoked. And approximately 6 to 8 weeks, 8 weeks in, you will realize you haven't done anything fun in 6 to 8 weeks. So let me and Summer know. We'll watch the babe for you, and you and Rebecca can just have silence for a weekend, or a couple of hours, or however long you need.
We haven't quite figured out which of us is going to be the sobbing wreck.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we leave baby anywhere that isn't in one of our arms. I have. Mm-hmm. It's weird though. We both have solid money that it's going to be ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So I am convinced it will be me, and Rebecca is convinced it will be her. So it'll probably be like 20 minutes, and then we're just gonna like crawl up your stairs crying like, we need it back, we made a mistake.
So when we had Scarlett, me and Scarlett would do Sam and Scarlett in the morning, and I would take Scarlett for the first feeding of the morning, so that Summer could get some like actual length of sleep, and Scarlett would come out with me, and I would actively try to keep her, like if she was starting to get fussy, like distract her, those sorts of things, to like stretch it out, give Summer some sleep. And about the third one of those, I get Scarlett, and I get her laid down on her little bed in my office, and 5 minutes later, Summer comes in, like sneaks in, looking like ashamed, grabs Scarlett, and goes back to her bed. She's like, I missed her, I needed her. So it happens.
Yeah. But we're I have discovered that as soon as I start talking about baby, I just start talking in circles, which is bad because I talk in circles anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've yep. Anyway, that's what I've been doing secretly in the background. Not as exciting maybe in the moment as playing Breath of the Wild, but except no, I take that back. I got to feel baby kick for the first time.
Hell yeah.
Yesterday. And wow. I have never felt so much fear in my entire life.
Yeah. It's so magic, and I'm so happy for you. I'm like beaming ear to ear. I just
Yeah. My several of my coworkers asked me because I have been in a more active, actively better mood lately. In that I have smiled on the vicinity of my workplace. That sounds
Mhm.
like an exaggeration. It's not. I'm usually pretty somber looking.
Mhm.
But I had maybe the funniest experience of my life it is slightly busy time. Uh, Me and one of our GAs are bantering back and forth, and he's like, "Oh, you should just buy this thing." He was talking about the Callisto Protocol Collector's Edition. And I'm like, "I can't. I have to save money." He's like, "What do you have to save money for?" I'm like, "I'm having a kid in October, dude. Remember?" He's like, the whole store just kind of stopped. I'm like, "What?" See, I hadn't told him. He was like the one person in the store I hadn't told. So we had to
Love that.
stop mid everything and have this conversation. And like most of the people in the store were regulars, so they were also just stopping, watching us have this conversation. Good times.
Good
Anyway,
time.
let's talk about JRPGs and stuff.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, let's listen to some Trails to Azure music and we'll talk about some Trails to Azure plot. And yes, I know that I didn't go, but all I did was play Minecraft. It's the only thing interesting that I've done this week. So, chapter 1 of Trails to Azure. This chapter starts with Lloyd and Ellie discussing the ins and outs of how the SSS operates with their 2 new recruits, and it also functions as a tutorial for the Triple S terminal, because, as always, this is the perfect jumping on point in the Trail series. They do a cool thing that makes me think that this game is written as densely as second chapter was, and I don't feel like playing it a bunch of times to test it out. But the I think that the order that you choose to do things can change all of the scenes in small ways. Because the optional quests are mentioned as having just happened in the main quest. It could just be for this first chapter where they're like, oh, these are optional quests, but like you have to do them all as part of the main quest. I was doing them all because I was doing them all. But the fact that it's like, oh yeah, we have to go and do that monster extermination anyways. So while we're over there, we'll take care of this main plot thing. Like that was all over this chapter, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, the Triple S drop Kia off with her friends to go leave to Sunday school, and they take on a request to see if they can find Lecter and check his ID, confirm the reason why such a high-ranking government official from the Empire would be in Crossbell. So we chase him all over, and in doing so, we get to check in with Grace and a few other people from last game, see how they're doing. We also go in and check to see that the Ravash building is empty now, but Heyu is looking to purchase it and use it as their main base, so they'll have a better position to be the main mafia of the city. Because as we found out last game, they have a deep underground network of a big ass base, so it'd be a great thing for the mafia to have. When we finally do catch up with Lecter, he's hanging out at the casino with a 15-year-old girl with scarlet hair. And you know how this series keeps doing really cool things with bespoke sprite animations, like awesome sword fights, or a play, or an acrobatic circus performance? Well, this game, they wasted it on a 15-year-old girl saying that Ellie was hot and groping her boobs.
Eee.
It's bad and uncomfortable because like Ellie doesn't like it and she's like yelling, please stop it. And it's played for comedy and everybody is like that rascally teenager. And I hate it. Like Kiseki in general has been very suggestive, but not horny. Like people say that girls are really cute and they want to get a drink with them and like imply sexy things, but it is not in the entire last 4 games ever been explicitly horny. And I think this non-horniness is why the Estelle and Joshua thing is not so weird, because it's really just like the pinings of 2 innocent kids who lived together for the last 6 years and not a weird pervy thing. But now that there's a weird pervy thing in Kiseki, it makes it weird and it makes it pervy. And I kind of hate it a lot. But anyways, so it turns out that there's a big trade convention or something coming up in about a month, and the CPD is worried that the Empire is trying to assert themselves on Crossbell, and so we get Lecter to confirm he's with the government, but he's like, I'll only be here for a week. I won't be here when the convention is happening, and he hasn't done anything illegal yet, so we just have to let him go. Shirley, a 15-year-old girl, however, definitely did something illegal, but no arrests were made, just jokes. Anyways, so Sergei gives them a call and invites them out to the police academy for some special training. The team goes out there, and along the way, they decide to do the monster hunting quest. But when they get to where the monster is, they instead find another very large man. This is the 3rd very large man in the Crossbell arc, and I personally am here for it. This large man has scarlet hair and an eye patch who tests Lloyd on his detective skills before mysteriously vanishing. Did you guys get this question right, or did you Google it to get the 3 detective points?
Oh, I looked it up.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding?
I Googled it.
There was no way in hell I was going to think to count the people as it flashed by in like 6 times speed because I'm playing it in fast forward. There was no way in hell I was going to do anything besides look it up.
So this man, he sort of stands around, he bees a little weird, then he walks away. Then they're like, oh, over there, those are those monsters we were supposed to kill, but someone else killed them. Holy shit, must have been that guy. Mm-hmm. We suspect he's a terrorist, and we're going to, like, investigate him and spy on him and keep talking about how we've got to look into him and report him to the police and stuff. And he didn't do anything. He did nothing.
Yeah. No, he
all he did was maybe kill some monsters you were gonna kill.
Yeah, he KS'd the party, and so they're reporting him to the mods.
I don't know what that means.
Kill steal.
Oh.
Ancient MMO bullshit. Anywho, it does mention that the corpses are not just like killed, they're like eviscerated and ripped up and kind of super gross. But still not like he must be a domestic terrorist. Like it's a huge jump. When we get to the academy, Sergei reveals the training that he signed him up for, which is driver's ed, because it turns out we actually did start dating Noelle because she has a driver's license. I made that joke last episode, and it turned out to be canon. So this car is really cool. The Zeiss Central Factory, I think, ZCF. I only wrote a ZCF in my notes, but I haven't played Trails in the Sky in a very long time, so I don't remember if that's exactly what it is. But when they built the car, they put that badass engine from the Arsail into it, basically just to see if they could. So now they made an SUV that can drive faster than a train. And that's fucking stupid and cool. But now that means that Noelle can drive us everywhere, and we have fast travel for the whole continent, not just the city. The ZCF only has made a handful of them, and the rest of the CPD only gets like normal ass cars. But Mayor Croy has pulled some strings to give us the awesome one, and this is like the 3rd big gift that he's given us this game. So I really hope that Bernard is right and that he's one of the good rich guys and not the secret bad guy. But I'm this is getting suspicious. It sounds like he's buying off the only non-corrupt branch of the CPD, if you ask me. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's real weird and suspicious, and the only reason I think he might not be bad is because of the weird politics in these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um. So, the Triple S drives back to town, and they run into Kia's friends, but Kia isn't with them. They say, "Oh, we never walk home from school with her. She always stays back at the cathedral for a little bit." And we're like, "That's weird." So we head to the cathedral ourselves. When we're there, we're run into Reese, who introduces herself, but Ellie knows her from back in the day. Reese begs Ellie not to blow her cover, and Ellie says, "Okay." When they get inside, Kia is doing class with the older kids, and in fact is showing the older kids how to do their algebra up on the board. She says that math and science come super easy for her, and she loves doing them, and so the teachers have been encouraging her to stick behind and do some stuff. They specifically only let her do the math and science and not like the history and all of the other stuff, so that she can just be a little smart kid and not be heavily weighed down with war crimes and other things you would learn in history. So we pick up Kia and we make our way back to the Triple S building, where we get a Skype call from Tio. They are inventing Wi-Fi, and this has been a call to test that it works. She says that she'll be stuck in Le Mans State for a while, but will be home as soon as she can. The team talks with Sergey about their run-in with the tall man with the scarlet hair, and he says that the CPD hasn't been able to confirm or deny his presence in the city. Wazy, being a criminal, says that they should ask the other criminals of the city, and we go to the black market to ask Ashley if she's seen anything. Lloyd and the gang all speak to Ashley as if she was a big, important, well-met character from last game, and they're checking in on her, and this is another, like, hey, haven't seen you since last game, and I absolutely never once went into this building, and so it is very weird and took me completely out of it.
I went into this building, but quickly found that I never had shit to trade, and I never talked to these people other than to look at the inventory and realize I don't have shit to trade. So yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah, the first time I realized there was a equipment upgrading mechanic was at the end of the game when we're all holed up in the bank, and so it's a different NPC that happens to be there.
No, this is a completely separate thing. You don't even know what it is. You're so detached from this character. It's an exchange thing.
Yeah.
Like you have so many potions. You can get a hyper potion. I forget what shit's called.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely never ran into this old friend that we all love, and Lloyd is like her daughter's like godfather and shit. So Ashley says that the large man must be a Jaeger, but she can't cite her sources on account of all of the crime. So we head back to the Triple S, but on the way we run into Wald, who's very pissed that Wazy quit being a gang leader, so he challenges him to a fight. Wazy does a Randy Orlando Super Saiyan special and kicks Wald's ass and tells him that gangs are a great place to be, but not a great place to stay, and that Wald too should move on from the gang life and find out what's next for him. Wald realizes that Wazy had always been holding back, so he vows to find his own way forward and leaves. When we get to the Triple S, the team gets a call from Fran that the mayor of Mainz, the mining town, wants the Triple S to investigate the mine outside of town. It's abandoned and no one uses it, but it's glowing purple, and the door was like torn off its hinges the night before, so something freaky is probably going on with it. Like, no one's in danger, no one really cares, but like some shit's going down, so we should check it out. As we drive along, we stop by the Rosenberg studio, where we can see Campanella's bitch ass and some evil scientist dude arguing along with Master Jorg. And they're asking him for the intelligence chip that he put in Patermater so they can do Ouroboros things with it. They don't say Ouroboros, but they do mention giving it to number 15, which is Ren's Ouroboros number, and a few other things that clue those of us who have played the games to know what they're up to. Jorg is like, fuck you and your stupid quiz game too, and slams the door in their face. He tells the Triple S that since we took care of Ren, he tells the Triple S that since we took care of Ren, if we have a reason to come and see him, he'll admit us, but not without a reason, and we currently don't have a reason, so we should leave. When we get to Mainz, the mine is indeed glowing a purple color, and the door was definitely torn down by human hands and not monsters, so we think that something is probably happening inside. There are more monsters in there than normal, but it was abandoned, and mines make really good monster dens, so no one was surprised about there being monsters. But as soon as the Triple S enters the mine, they hear a sizzle and smell gunpowder, and there's a huge explosion sealing off the entrance to the mine. The team is like, weird, it wasn't an orbital explosive, it was a gunpowder one, and no one uses gunpowder anymore, so this was definitely a trap. They decide to push deeper into the mine to find an alternate way out, and instead they find a fucking dragon. The dragon does some sort of art on the party that makes them all paralyzed, and they're basically goners and gonna die. But then Randy shows up. He's back from training with the CGF, and he is here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. He forces himself into our party, and we start a boss fight. He replaces Wazy, so we perfectly have a combo craft for Randy and Lloyd, and one for Ellie and Noelle, so it's pretty simple to take the dragon down. Did you guys have any issues with the dragon?
Well, I didn't finish playing the game, even though I had 3 weeks to do it.
Wow. What about you, Matt? Did you have a problem with the dragon?
I didn't, which was weird for me because historically in games, for whatever reason, I have a tough time fighting dragons, but I didn't die.
Nice. Yeah, this one is not terribly hard. It definitely is huge and the size of the like in-game dragon from second chapter, but it's not a big deal. But that reminds me, this game has a new mechanic that is frivolous and pointless, but cool. So for the climax of each chapter, they made a mechanic that represents we're filled with the power of anime hype. And so if you do a lot of damage and you don't get knocked out and you don't take too much damage, you can fill a burst meter, which when it gets full lets your party go into overdrive, which will heal their status effects, cancel all enemy arts and crafts, makes casting time instant, and increases your damage and CP gain. So you basically start kicking ass and taking names, and everyone gets pumped with the power of friendship, and it's super cool. You can save up all of your combo crafts and mega arts for when that's happening and just do a shitload of damage. As we're walking out of the mine, Randy says the explosive used in the mine are common kind used by the Jaeger Corps.
Core. I'm sorry. You said it. You did that once before, and I made fun of you off microphone, and you were like, "You should have told me on microphone."
Yeah,
so I'm telling you.
I heard it happen, and I was like, "Damn it, Bernard's going to give me shit on microphone." So yeah, it's a common kind used by the Jaeger Corps. And as we're walking to the front, he says that he was in the area and they cleared out the rubble and we could just walk out the front. There's not another way out. We were stupid for leaving. We then get a call from Dudley, who's back in town, and he lets us know that Heyu was unable to buy the Ravache building because someone bought it out from under them, someone by the name of Crimson & Co., a nightclub company from Arabonia. Hearing this name, Randy tells Noelle to step on it and take us to the back alley because Crimson & Co. is the cover organization for Randy's former Jaeger Corps, the Red Constellation. On the way back in, we see Campanella and the scientist guy talking about how the Phantasmal Blaze plan is now underway for the sake of the Grandmaster, whatever the fuck that means. When we get to town, Randy runs to the former Ravash building where we see the large man with scarlet hair and the young girl with scarlet hair and our medium boy with scarlet hair. Tells us that this is his uncle and his cousin, Sigmund and Shirley. Turns out that Lecter was here to help Crimson and Company buy this building out from under Heyu for reasons that we're not privy to. Sigmund tells Randy that his dad sucks ass and he's glad that he died 6 months ago, and Randy doesn't seem to take that very well. Shirley and Sigmund and Lecter go into the building, and Randy tells us that sure enough, they are the leaders of the Red Constellation, the quote, strongest and worst of the ogres. And he does not expound on that. And Luna the cat comes out and asks us if we would like to save our game, because that's the end of chapter 1. So let's listen to some more Trails music and talk about our mem moms and cool quests.
Well, I don't remember shit because I played this 3 weeks ago, and then never. We were gonna record this originally, but then I didn't finish in time just because sometimes it's hard to play. It didn't sound very long, but this chapter is long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard to finish a chapter of Kiseki. And then after that, I got news that I was getting laid off and didn't feel like playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's been a 3 weeks. Yeah, running a podcast is never having time to finish all 3 of the episodes per week that you've agreed to do 3 times a week, but then also being like, hey Bernard, we should totally start another sub podcast where we played through all of the Tales of series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's stupid and I love it. What about you, Matt? What are some of your mem moms or cool things from this chapter?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Bernard. I was trucking through this section. I did remember the dragon fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mostly remembered it because it always amuses me when there's this is a giant boss you need to fight. Oh, but it's super squishy and easy though.
Yeah. I especially love it when they break out the 3D graphics in Kiseki. It's like, oh yeah, here's some shit. It's going to be 3D now, and 4 turns. That's all it takes. So there is a really long quest about verifying addresses that is mostly it's mostly just checking in on minor characters from last game. Like, none of these characters even have a face sprite. They're so minor characters, but whatever. So the Fisherman's Guild got their building bought out from under them, so they have to start over, which is a big, dumb, in-universe reason to show that your fishing rank doesn't carry over. There is one line where Lloyd says his fishing rank from the last game, so they definitely do import it over with your save file, but they wanted to wipe it anyways. It's stupid. We also check in on Bond, who is the stockbroker guy that got gnosis in the climax of last game, and he moved to a smaller house, and his house has been bought by some frat guy dudes, so they can bring hookers there. And I'm not even lying; that's the plot. It's frat guys from a university bought a house so that they could bring hookers there. Kiseki got horny somehow. Then the last one you check on is one of the Diet members who got fired because of something other from last game, and he bought a house under a fake name so that he could hide out. There's a few monster exterminations and a quest about a little girl who lost her umbrella. Um, there's also a really bad Puyo Puyo clone minigame now, and during that quest, Lloyd is like, "What the fuck? We can barely use computers for like email. Why would people make games?" And Chief Roberts is like, "Oh, we had plans for video games before there were working prototypes of computers," which I think is hilarious that that's in universe. Like, hey, what if we made orbments and with like long quartz lines so we could communicate over long distances? And it's like, oh, and then we could play video games. We could make video games work with this. Let's do it.
It is funny seeing the gang be introduced to the concept of a video game. And also it's really funny how Lloyd sits down to play the video game the first time he's ever played a video game, first time he's ever heard of a video game, and he canonically totally owns the guy, and they're all like, wow, that guy who is making the game is real bad at this.
I love it. You invented video games. You still need to get good. Oh, this last one isn't a thing. It was a joke I pre-wrote for this bit. I said that Epstein and Russell are staying up all night inventing the Capel system, and they can store data inside of a quartz for the first time. And someone, probably Cassius, is like, "Yeah, but can it run Crisis?"
That's pretty good.
Yeah. If it wasn't a good joke, I wanted to have lampshaded it and said it anyways. But I do like it.
I would have.
But yeah, I don't think any particular lines jumped out at me. Besides the aforementioned Kiseki is horny now, and I don't like it. And I don't think it remains horny, and I hope that this is a fluke.
I mean, it's always been a little horny.
Yeah.
It just had a real weird moment this time.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the best.
I mean, this whole game and the past game has had Ilya being a sex pest. Yeah.
Yeah. But like all like the way that it has done that so far hasn't been like a bespoke animation of someone's boobs getting grabbed.
There was, in fact, I believe, a bespoke animation of Ilya non-consensually poking Rixia's boobs.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a trend that I hope doesn't continue, and I heard Matt squirm, so we'll have a how horny can Kiseki get tracker as we continue through the story.
I will say this. It evens out.
Dope. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it this time. This was a short ass episode. Fuck, we started recording 49 minutes ago, and we started the episode 10 minutes into that. It's only been 30 fucking minutes.
Well, you're the one who zoomed through the description of what happened.
It didn't feel like I was zooming that much, though. I wish I hadn't played this 3 weeks ago to know what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to talk more about it. But, oh well. Yeah, this chapter was kind of mechanically long, but a lot of it was running around and doing things and not necessarily plot stuff. But I will compare my notes and make sure that they are longer than this next time, or I have more things to talk about. But that'll do it for the week. Here's a nice, short and sweet episode, everybody. This episode is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters. So if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club and drop us a donation, and a few more episodes will be waiting on you when you do. Donations help us pay for hosting costs, game costs, and things like that. And in return, you can join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tier is for everyone who pays $1 or more a month, and this gets you access to our Book Club no Kiseki episodes a month before everyone else, and it lets you vote on our polls when they go live. The Warrior tier is for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, and they also get their name shouted out at the end of every episode, like this. Shoutouts to Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Vimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho. And finally, we have the Luminary tier, which is for everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month. And they also get a 1-sentence shout out to make me say whatever they want. So shout outs to Eliza Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, which is an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. And shout out to our new luminary, William Taylor, who wants you to check out rpgamer.com, which is RPG reviews from people like us. And also shout outs to Carr, who is a dentist, and so he isn't shouting out his Twitch stream, but rather your own mouth, and he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly the time right before you go to bed. For Book Club no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
Ideas, amigos.